Know about Assange's so-called poison pill, all this new information?
Well, Chef, a source described it to me as essentially an insurance policy that Julian Assange would use if the website was permanently disabled or he was arrested. The London newspapers have been reporting that the documents have been distributed to backers of Assange, and they are said to include documents about BP, the company in the Gulf oil spill this summer, as well as Guantanamo Bay. I think the bottom line here, though, is that this threat of the poison pill, if you will, or these documents, this is clearly meant to make authorities think twice before arresting him. And as you mentioned earlier, this discussion with the British police, this also seems to me an effort to, if you will, create a lot of sort of media coverage and focus on any impending arrest of Assange, which may happen in the next couple of days, if not today.
And Catherine, the U.S. Attorney General has weighed in on this today, right?
Well, earlier today, the Attorney General ramped up the rhetoric about WikiLeaks and the damage that it has done to this country.
The American people themselves have been put at risk by these actions that are, I believe, arrogant, misguided, and ultimately not helpful in any way.
And Holder would not be specific, but he did say that some significant steps are being taken against those they believe have been responsible for these leaks, Shep.
Catherine, some of these leaks detail key sources of terror funding.
Well, this is one of the most important elements, I think, of the leaks so far because, cutting off the money has been one of the U.S. government's primary strategies for dealing with terrorist groups. And these cables suggest that some of our allies in the Middle East are essentially not on board in this project. The cables state that the United Arab Emirates has a, quote, strategic gap that terrorists can exploit. Qatar is, quote, the worst in the region on counterterrorism issues, and Kuwait is, quote, a key transit point. This is important because, as I mentioned, one of the, the dual strategies for the U.S. government, one has been putting troops on the ground, the other has been trying to cut off the money at its source to impair these operations, Shep. So this is pretty significant.
It sounds it. Catherine Herridge in D.C. Catherine, keep us updated. Thank you.
You're welcome.
New details today about the yet-to-be-released WikiLeaks documents that may be from Bank of America. Publicly, B of A officials say there is no indication of any leak. But the Fox Business Network's Charlie Gasparino spoke with someone who has read the leaked files, we're told, and we could learn something about what made the economy collapse, those risky subprime mortgages. FBN's Charlie Gasparino has been following this story from the beginning. He's live in our newsroom here in New York. And Charlie, the analysts are saying that this could cost Bank of America a lot of money. What is the company saying?
Well, the company's telling us, as on the record, that there is no indication. Now, follow those words. No indication. They have no indication that it's going to be the target of a WikiLeaks. But that's a very legalistic term. They know inside the company, and they have told us as much, that they've set up a legal SWAT team if and when this thing, hits. And, here's the question, Shep, that we don't know. Assange has gone out there and said, he has documents, 5 gigabytes, and that's apparently a lot of documents that are pretty damaging on a major U.S. bank. In the past, Assange has talked about Bank of America as being a target of a WikiLeaks. I can tell you that I've talked to a person who claims to have seen some of the documents. This person couldn't make out how damaging they were, but it clearly pointed to Bank of America. And here's the problem for Bank of America. They bought Countrywide Financial, which was one of those purveyors of subprime loans to high-risk people. And if those loans have been, are deemed to be fraudulent, if these gigabytes of memos, basically show that those are fraudulent loans that were given, particularly during a housing bubble, Bank of America could be on the hook for billions of dollars. And that's what the big fear is in Bank of America, that they are on the hook for a lot of money because this document, this document dump, as they call it, points directly to problems at Countrywide Financial.
It looked at the time like this Countrywide thing was a good deal because it was clear that Countrywide was going to rise as the economy rose, and then it didn't. And then you find out that if, in fact, there were fraudulent matters involved in all of this, that Bank of America might have to buy them back.
Yeah.
And that's the billions you're talking about,
This
right?
gets a little complicated, but bear with me here. The loans that Countrywide made were packaged into bonds. Those bonds are held by investors. If those loans were fraudulent, for example, we know there was a lot of fraud in sort of mortgages, in mortgage origination during the bubble years. But if those mortgages in those bonds were fraudulent, well, that's a good case for the holders of those mortgages. And by the way, the Federal Reserve is one of those holders because it bailed out Bear Stearns, and part of the bailout was holding those mortgage-backed securities. Other big investors, too, can put back those loans back to Bank of America, meaning Bank of America would have to buy him back at some amount of money. And from what I understand, that would be billions. Now, these are big ifs, Shepard.
Sure.
I've never seen those documents. I want to see those documents before I tell you.